Hey everyone, cheers. Back here for episode 2 of Movement Matters. So there's a lot to jump into, so I figure what I'm going to try and do with all these is maybe have some thing to teach or show that has come up a lot, and then maybe just go through some of the individuals as I have and just talk about one or two of the things that happened with them and see where that took me, because there's several things that just came out of one or two of people here the last day or two. So anyway, let's start with for me a real big one. I point this out all the time. This is with new people, is teaching them how the pelvis works when we're doing swings or hinges and squats. So a hinge basically refers to that pattern at the hip where, and I'm gonna bring in the pelvis here to show, where we pretty much just hinge at the hip here, so it folds over around the head of the femur here. Back up. When we squat, there's gonna be much more of this bone will be much more involved getting upward more. When we're swinging, it tends to stay, and hinging, it tends to stay more under you. As you squat, the leg's going to come up more. So let's just take the hinging one as our example here in this video, just to make it simple. The same thing is happening in both. It's just a little more dynamic in the squat. There's more pieces moving. The ankle and the knee are a lot more involved, which is why the femur changes more. But let's just use this side as if we're looking at this side. Here's where the, and we're going to talk about the hamstrings mostly today. Obviously there's more muscles involved, but let's talk about the hamstrings. They're attached on this tuberosity here, the back lower part of your pelvis here, back on this back corner. And when you hinge over, it causes that tuberosity to rise and lift up to the back there, right? See that? So if I grab it here with my thumb, you can see that if I pull down on my thumb, I can stand this back up, and if I push it out this way, I can roll it over, pull it up, roll it over. So that's what's happening essentially with our hamstrings as they're pulling you up and as you fold over. So that's why if someone has some tight hamstrings back here and they go to hinge over and they go a few degrees and can't go any further here, and then we start to get this folding over of the spine. And so that's where you see people that'll start to fold over and it only goes a little ways, and then you see them start to round their back over to go the rest of the way. And that's just because of this doesn't have room to keep rolling up and back like that, right? So I have another little model here that I use some. It's a little keychain, actually, a little keychain of a pelvis. But the neat thing is if I grab the sides here, when I tilt it over, you see those bones start to poke out the back there. So when you roll up, so you're here and here. And if this were your arms, as you lean over, the arms are hanging, and as I stand up from the back, they come back upright. So being able to fold over at the hip without having to round this top part over is the key. Here's a picture actually that I have in a book of, you can see how the hamstrings attach here on the back. It's a good book. I use this a lot. Here's the book if you're wanting to check it out. This is where I'm getting this. So this picture here, you can see this is why we do this stretch here quite a bit, while yoga uses this quite a bit, because it really does get at these hamstrings here. And you can see how they're really getting lengthened. On the back, you can see being pulled from here out to the side, but same idea. Either way, having to lengthen off of this tuberosity back here. So when you're trying to hinge, trying to swing, you gotta have room there. So that's why we spend time on making space there. But once you start to get space, doing the movement itself and learning how to create the neurological connection of tension in your spine so it doesn't bend while you're folding at the hip. right? That's what we practice. Those are what our drills are for. Those are what, you know, the corrective moves are for, to get you there so that you can start to practice, and then let that be what stretches you going forward. If we can get the right pattern going, we can allow the pattern to do it. So that's a bit about the hips. I get that all the time. I see people very unaware of how that works back there, and I feel like the better you see that in your mind, the better you can see that tilting over. So if I stand, the better I can tilt over. See this side of this, you can see better. The more I can tilt over and hinge here instead of going and rounding over. All right, so it's got to be the tilt instead of the round. Right there. All right, so that one comes up all the time. You got to get that one down. That's, you know, one of the early lessons 1. So there's a little bit of that. Let's take a look here at just a couple of things that popped up here in the last day or two. Had a guy out skiing for spring break, caught a rock, dug a 2-foot trench in his ski, took him down, really kind of tweaked his hamstring or butt, or he referred to it as his butt, but kind of his upper hamstring in here. And as a result, you know, we had to change the day. We had to change what we were planning on doing. We had to change the whole approach. So we went from doing some lifts to that day it ended up being a lot of soft tissue work, a lot of stick, roller, balls, some easy stretching. And I told him, you know, because he's in good shape, you know, he's around my age, which is 50. So, you know, so I told him because he's in good shape, in a month or so, you know, he'd be fine. He's a golfer and golf season's coming, so it's important that we get him back on the course. But I told him, you know, in a month he'd be fine. And surely in 9 months, when ski season comes back around, he'll be good to go. So, and I say that just to keep it realistic. Everyone has these super fast expectations, and as we get older, they don't go quite as fast. So, you know, keep it real. You know, we'll certainly be ready by then. We'll be ready soon, but certainly by then, we just keep it slow and steady. And then I think we talked about sharpening the axe versus keeping the axe sharp. Because we have kept the axe sharp, we just got to run a file over it for a little while to tune it back up versus having to really dive in with a grinder. You know, that's why I say to people, consistency over time is really the key, because if we just keep it, you know, keep it sharp, keep the axe sharp, it takes a lot less aggression to get it back to in cutting form than if we let it get really beat up, rusted, and then we have to take a grinder to it, a little more aggressive. So because he's in good shape, we're just going to file it up a little bit and he'll be good to go. So that was the first one. The second one, I had a guy coming in just talking about different training zones, and he's been looking into this let me see if I have it here. A guy named Phil Maffetone is, and it's the Maffetone method. But anyway, it's neat stuff. I'm trained under StrongFirst, so I know the StrongFirst way. So I kind of poked around between the two, and I actually saw that there were a couple of places where the two had been correlated, where they're referred to in each other's material. So checked it out. He's got a book called Get Strong. That's this book here that, let's see if I can find the cover. Title, there's the cover here, right? Get Strong. Right. So by Dr. Philip Maffetone. Anyway, been checking that out, and pretty neat stuff in there. And you know, that led me to, you know, over, like I said, to StrongFirst. And I just wanted to point this out, that if you do go over to the site now and pull that up, they're going to offer you this free report from Pavel, Stronger Today. And it's a couple of tips that you can download for free to check out. Good stuff in there. And StrongFirst is always just a good site to check out. Here's the StrongFirst site. Check that out. Good stuff there. Anyway, some good stuff in there, and that just came from, you know, those two guys today. Oh, I have here written on the side, simplicity. One of the things that Phil Maffetone talks about a lot. Oh, I see why. Because Mark Snow, who did one of the articles referring to this, he was my team leader when I did my CKFMS back in St. Paul many years ago. But he was the one who wrote that article about the Maffetone method. So, yeah, simplicity. Phil talks a lot about simplicity. That's what we're all about in here. Lives are busy. People are busy. You know, it's just fitness. I hate to say it, guys, but it's just fitness. We're not pros. It's just fitness. I'm a professional coach, but I'm not, you know, on TV as a pro athlete. Those people are touched by God. Those people are touched. And, you know, we're just regular people trying to stay healthy, stay fit. It's not that complicated. Let's keep it simple. So, I don't know, I guess that's enough for episode 2. We'll catch you later.